In this section, we will describe the 6 trigonometric functions. But before we can do that, we need to start the framework by talking about theta. And when we say theta, we're talking about an angle, and that angle must be in standard position. That means that our initial side has to be on the positive x-axis, and our origin will be where our vertex is located. We want to be able to pick any point on our terminal side. So here's our terminal side of our angle. We will pick any point that lives on the terminal side. So let's say that I pick this point here. We'll call that the point P, and this will be the x and the y value. So we have x and y, and we talk about r. R will be the distance from the origin to that point on the terminal side of the line that we have picked. Now, how do we find out what r is? Well, in order to find out what r is, we are going to we're going to take our point, and we're going to go straight down, and we're going to form a right triangle. Now we know what r is. R is going to be here. If you remember back, the r here would be the hypotenuse of this right triangle. What is this distance here? How would we describe that? Well, our point xy, leading up to that point, this would be our y value. So the distance of this blue line here, the vertical distance here, would be the y value of the point. The x would tell me the distance of this green line at the bottom. This right here is the distance from the origin in the x direction, so that would be the value of x. In order to work with this, we need to know how to measure r. How do we find out the length of r? In order to do that, since we have a right triangle, let's use our Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem says that x squared plus y squared, which would be side 1 and side 2, the legs of this triangle, when I square them and I add them together, is equal to the square of the hypotenuse, which is r. So we'll say r squared. If I want to solve for r, we would take the square root of both sides, and now we know the measure or the value of r. R will always be positive because it's the distance from the origin to that point that we picked on the terminal side, and we are not allowed to pick the vertex of our angle or the point of origin as the point on the terminal side of our angle. So r will always be greater than 0. Now we can define the 6 trigonometric functions. We have sine, which we abbreviate as sin. That is a function name. So we have sine of an angle theta is equal to the ratio y divided by r. Cosecant, right below it, is abbreviated as CSC. That's our function name. Cosecant of the angle theta is equal to r divided by y. We have to be careful there. R is never 0, but y could be 0. So we want to make sure that y is never 0 for this particular function. Cosine is abbreviated COS. Cosine of the angle theta is defined as x divided by r. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. Secant is abbreviated SEC. Secant of theta is equal to r divided by x. We want to make sure that x is never 0. Tangent, we abbreviate that TAN. Tangent of the angle theta is equal to y divided by x. We want to make sure that we never allow x to be 0. Cotangent is abbreviated COT. cotangent of theta is equal to x divided by y. We want to make sure that y is never 0.